What is going on, you guys? We're back again. We want to have another conversation. This one's going to be a little bit different. We're going to be discussing today how several years back our faith was tested. And we're going to be talking about this from the side of losing your job in the process. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yes. Very well.
How can you forget, right?
Very well.
So, let's jump right into it, y'all. And just to let you guys know, once we give you our testimony about how our faith was tested, I have a series of questions at the end. I think it's about 7 questions. And if you're able to, we would love to hear your guys' testimony in the comments. And if you could answer some of the questions too, we would really appreciate that. Yeah, because we would love to hear. Me personally, I would love hearing people's different stories and their testimonies about, their faith being tested. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. So back in 2018, that was the year that we came into holiness, and I had got a job working for a trucking company based out of Texas, and we were there for about, I would say, 2.5 years. And
it's actually about 3.
It's about 3 years.
Yeah. It's quite some time.
And so I was a flatbed driver there, and for anybody that knows anything about trucking or flatbed, a lot of times you can haul stuff like building materials, heavy equipment and stuff like that. And there was one particular day, and I think what's really interesting about this, and I'll get into some of the questions a little bit later, but something that was really interesting about this particular day is that me and Nate had been traveling a lot with the church, going to a lot of different meetings and conventions and stuff like that. So it seemed like everything was going really good, really good.
Yeah.
And one day we just got a message on our computer in the truck, and it said, we need you to, pull this load. And when I got down to the description, it was building material, but it was supposed to, go on to build a facility that it's against our faith and we're not allowed to support. So when I saw it, my heart dropped, because I wasn't expecting it. And that's something that I could honestly say that was really a huge surprise for me.
Yeah, I was actually, especially because of the company, we had been there for 3 years and we had never hauled anything that would make us feel like we had to turn it down. We thought we were good working on the flatbed side compared to the dry van. Yeah, because you could see everything, and well, what can we haul that would be against our faith? So we thought we were good. Yeah.
I got comfortable, y'all. I got really comfortable because we were hauling.
And wasn't that one of the reasons why we chose flatbed? No, because we weren't in holiness yet. When we came on the road, we weren't in holiness yet.
Yeah.
Holiness came into our life about a month after being on the road. So
yeah, listen, holiness came into our life shortly after we got rid of our apartment. We sold both of our cars. We got rid of everything just to come on a road together. And about a month after that is when holiness came into our life.
So that's not the reason why we chose flatbed, but I think once we came into holiness and we got the teaching, we were like, okay, we're in a pretty good industry and a pretty good side of it to where we won't have to worry about,
So we thought, y'all.
So we thought.
Yeah, so we thought. And it's interesting because like I said, I got comfortable. I got comfortable because I saw the type of loads we were pulling, and I said, wow, it's easy.
Because when we hear PJ preach about truck drivers, especially, he'll talk about alcohol, and there's specific things he'll talk about. And with us being on flatbed, we didn't have to haul any of that. So we were like, okay, besides the Christmas tree thing, I would say maybe flatbeds haul that, but we never even hauled that.
See, we never even got called to do that.
Yeah,
so we were in a pretty comfortable spot. We were just living life, y'all, and just smooth sailing. And that particular day, I remember like it was yesterday, and we got a message over our computer in the truck. We need you to pull this load. And when I saw it, like I said, instantly my heart dropped. I wasn't expecting it. And that's one of the things that I can say when your faith is tested. It'll definitely come at a time where you least expect it.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and I can say that of a truth. And
I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was my birthday.
Was it?
Yeah. It was. So,
man, what a birthday gift, right?
Right, yeah.
Oh, y'all. But So I had called the company and I had told them, I said, hey, I can't pull this load, and they wanted to know why. And so I went on to explain how, it's against our faith. I can't pull this building material to build this facility. My faith is against this. And they said, well, so here's the other thing. A lot of times, they may say things like, oh, well, we don't have anybody else to pull it. We really need the help. It's like, it's going to put us in a tight spot or a jam or whatever it is that a company may tell you. And I was pretty firm, Nate also, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Nate was pretty firm.
Wait, there was like a very small question that we had, just wondering, could there be a possibility that maybe we were seeing it wrong, and we were trying to make phone calls to who we knew in church, but with truck driving, you have to make a decision quick.
Yeah, we had to make a quick decision.
We didn't have enough time to wait for a call back, so we had to make a decision very quick.
Y'all, listen, I didn't have time to wait to have a conference with our pastor.
No, we really didn't. We had to. With truck driving, you have a certain amount of time to either accept or reject the load. So even though we were waiting for a call back, the call back didn't come fast enough.
Yeah, it didn't come fast enough, y'all.
Yeah.
And so at that point, another thing they tried to get me and Nate to do is they said, well, hey, can you at least get the load and start heading in that direction, and maybe we'll get somebody else to just deliver it. So that was really interesting.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking to myself, I said, no, because I can't. I'm supporting it. You know what I'm saying? I'm supporting it.
We're still helping to move it further.
I'm still helping it, moving it further and getting it closer to its destination. So they were, and the thing is that, listen, y'all, they were willing to work with me and Nay under those grounds. Like, hey, can you at least get it halfway there? Right. And we'll figure the rest out. We'll get somebody else. And when I told them no, that was it, y'all. The guy told me over the phone, he said, all right, well, being that you're not going to pull the load, just go ahead and just head back to the terminal.
And I guess if you could give context why in truck driving with that, like rejecting a load.
So y'all, that's another thing too. So when you reject loads and you turn loads down especially as a company driver, excuse me, if you own your own truck company, you can pull whatever you want. You don't have to be limited for that matter. But when you're a company driver, in many ways you got to do what you're told. And so it doesn't look good on you especially if you get fired for turning down loads, because the next prospective employer is going to say, okay, well, how do we know that he's not going to do that same thing here? How do we know we can trust him? How do we know he's reliable? If he's turning down freight, we need people that are wanting to work. And that's the interesting thing, is that I wanted to work.
Right.
I was just asking them, hey, can you give me another load, because I can't pull this one. So it's not the fact that I didn't want to work. Y'all, Mitch loves to work. I don't mind working. So when I told them that, they said, yes, just go ahead, and this is the end of the road. Just come back to Texas, park the truck at the terminal, you turn all your gear and stuff like that, and that we just go our separate ways. And so at that point, we had pulled into
it was like a little truck stop.
It was like a little truck stop.
Or gas station.
Yeah, like a little gas station. It had just enough room for a few trucks, y'all. And I remember sitting there just shocked. I was in disbelief. There was a lot going on, and I was like, man, what are we gonna do? And I remember, y'all, I cried. I cried, y'all. And I remember very vividly. I remember like it was yesterday. I remember just sitting in the driver's seat up there, and I remember I had turned back to Nay and I said, this is it. I said, it's the end of the road.
Yeah.
I said, I can't, believe this is happening. And I stood up and I asked Nate to stand up with me, and we held each other's hands, and I prayed. And I remember when I prayed very vividly, and I told God in prayer out loud with me and Nate, I said, Lord, you see all things, you know all things. We're really striving to do the right thing. Yeah. Yeah, striving to do the right thing. And please fight for us. Please help us. I'm sorry, y'all. I remember like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
And I cried for many reasons, y'all. I cried because we didn't have a place to live. You know, like I said, before we came on the road, we literally got rid of our apartment, got rid of furniture, everything. We sold our cars. We literally had we didn't have much, you know. We had some money saved, and I don't know what I was gonna do, because that's one of the things that, as a husband, you know, something that's preached to us often is, you know, a husband has to take care of his house. And ironically, you know, I'm losing my job, you know, for standing for what we believe. And so it was definitely an experience. I'll never forget it.
Yeah.
I'll never forget it. And I remember when we got back to the yard, to our terminal in Texas, you know, I had turned in the truck and the equipment and stuff like that. And I remember just wondering, like, you know, was there any way that they could get like airline tickets or maybe like a bus? And I don't even think they were willing to do the airline thing, rent us a car. They weren't willing to do it. Even a bus, I think that's the only thing that they were going to offer, was just a bus ticket. But the thing was that they weren't even going to at least give Nay a ticket. So we ended up having to come out of pocket for a U-Haul.
Yeah, so we got a U-Haul
And
truck.
I thank God, because there was actually a guy that worked there at that terminal, and I thank God for him. You know, he was nice enough to offer me and Nay a ride to at least go to the U-Haul place to get a truck.
Yeah, we got the U-Haul truck. I think that day was my birthday that we had to turn the truck in. Got the U-Haul truck, just put everything that we had in the truck in the back of it, and we didn't know what else to do. We didn't have a job or anything, so we were like, well, we're going to church. So we were all the way in Texas where the headquarters was, and we took a 22-hour drive to go to Philly
And a U-Haul
so we could go
truck.
to church, because we're like, if we don't know what to do while we're waiting, we're going to church.
Yeah.
So
And
we
I
did.
think that was, if I'm not mistaken, that was close to convention.
Yeah, the convention in Philly was about 2 or 3 weeks after us getting fired. So it just made sense just to go to church, you know, and the convention was coming up in a couple weeks anyway. But yeah.
Yo, that was
the longest and worst drive in a U-Haul truck.
That was the worst road trip, y'all.
Yes, it was about 22 hours, but that was the trip. That's what the trip is, but it took us longer than 22 because we kept stopping. It was, wow.
Yeah, the seats were uncomfortable. It was loud, obnoxious. You just hear the trailer door in the back just banging up and down every time you hit a pothole, or the seats wouldn't recline at all. You know, it's just, it was terrible.
And we forgot to mention that on our way to turn in the truck, we actually pulled into a truck stop, and Mitchell applied to a job. And then once he applied to that job, we kept going to the company terminal so we could turn in the truck and part ways. So
Yeah, and I was in survival mode then, y'all. I was trying literally to just apply and make phone calls and just try to do what I can do, and just talking to God in the meantime. And one thing I say, and I'm pretty sure you can agree with me on this, y'all, through the whole entire process, even though we had no clue what was about to happen, what we were gonna do, there was peace there.
Yeah, I would definitely
Yeah.
say, if I had to think about it, and that's the reason why I teared up when he spoke about it, is that this most surreal part, and I would say the scariest part, was when he was explaining when we got the phone call and we were told, okay, you guys have to turn the truck in, because we were like, what? You know, when he stood up and prayed. And I would say after that, I think we were pretty chill. We were pretty chill after that. You know, we were like, we're going to church. And yeah, we were pretty chill.
I think another
It
thing,
was yeah, surprisingly, yeah.
I think another thing too, y'all, listen, like, not one point in time during that whole process, listen, I never heard God's voice.
No.
I never had any, weird experience or anything like that. But something I can say was like pure silence, and a lot of times you can, it's kind of be in your head, like, man, you're talking to God, you don't know what's going to happen. All you know is that, Lord, I really hope you hear me.
Right. Yeah.
So, once we got to,
well, actually, on the way to Philly, I forgot what state we were in, but we were pretty close to Philly in the U-Haul truck. We're journeying, he got a phone call for a job, and I think it was the job that you applied to when we pulled over, because he only applied to one.
Mm-hmm.
And we had got a phone call on our way to Philly, and that's when you did a lot of explaining to him about what had happened, why we got fired, and we want to just let them know up front.
Y'all, spoiler alert, it's this job that we're at now.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So even that was surreal, because it's like we get fired, we make the decision, hey, we don't know what to do, but we're going to church. And on our way to church, we get a phone call about a potential job offer.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say from the time that we were journeying to Philly, the 22 hours, it was a lot of you talking back and forth with the recruiter
Mm-hmm.
from the job, just letting him know why we got fired. You know, them talking about the job history, just all that, you know, just all the stuff that happens when you're, you know, being considered for a job.
Mm-hmm.
Them going over your driving history, just all that. Like, that was happening on our way to Philly.
Mm.
Yeah.
And I think something I want to add to that too is, I remember the recruiter for the job telling me, he said, hey, I have to talk to someone because, you know, being that you were let go for turning on a load, it could be really difficult to hire someone like that.
Yeah.
So that really hit. You
It
know what I
did.
mean? It really hit, because
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, you know,
And we know Mitchell's been a truck driver for
since 2012, y'all.
so a long time. And even though we weren't over the road, he was local. But we've always known that it does not look good to refuse a load. Even when you're local, is it like
Mhm.
that too,
Yeah.
or no?
Yeah, that's not a good look.
Right.
Yeah.
So whether you're local or you're over the road like we are now, it's just not a good look. So we had always known that.
Mm-hmm.
So when the recruiter said that, we were like, ugh,
Yeah.
you know, but, you know, he definitely kept in contact with us the whole time. And it was, I think right before we got to Philly, that's when they said they would consider hiring you.
Mm.
And the ironic thing is that the terminal for that company was in Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
And we were already on our way there. So that the way that lined
Yeah.
up was just like, wow.
And it's not too far from Philly either.
Right. It was about
Which
2
is
hours
pretty
from
neat.
Philly.
Yeah.
And we were already going to be there. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I remember once we made it to the terminal, because there was still there was still you know, like a hiring process, there's multiple stages.
Yeah.
And once we went there, I had to meet with somebody and talk to them. And I guess the guy that I had spoke to, when I told him, I literally gave him a list.
Yeah.
And I said, and you know, it's interesting because
I want to say with the first company, we weren't in Holiness. So when we got hired onto them, Holiness came after. So
Mm-hmm.
we didn't know to say, hey, we can't do this, we can't do that. With this company, because of the prior experience and now we're in Holiness, we knew to say all these things up front. Just so they knew, hey, this is what we can and can't do.
Mm-hmm.
You let us know whether you want to hire us after we tell you, you know. So that was the difference we made with the second company.
Yeah.
Compared to the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And y'all, I made an extensive list, and when I gave it to the guy looked at it, and he said, hey man, you sure you don't want to try to do maybe like a different division of trucking? Or because he's like, I don't know. And he was honest, he didn't know if it would go over well, he didn't know if it would work. And
we just took whatever we could think of, and you know, I think we had been in Holiness for about 3 years when we got fired. So we just took whatever we could think of that we've been learning the past 3 years, and we just laid it all out there.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that was interesting too, because it's like, man, you just got fired, you need a job, and you're coming to these people with a whole bunch of things you're not gonna be able to do. You know? It's
Right.
like, so, but he ended up giving our paper to this lady, and we could say JR, right? Yeah, her name is she likes to go by JR. Very sweet lady, very cool lady.
Mm-hmm.
And she had invited me and Nate into her office, and that, y'all, to me was a really huge moment.
Yeah, because I remember during orientation we had got a hotel. Like I said, we were staying in the area for weeks, just going to church the whole time. And I remember every time he would come back, he would tell me, like, they're like, I don't know, you know. So you would come back every single time, like, they're like, I don't know, the list is kind of looking pretty deep here. And
Mm-hmm.
you know, so like every time he would leave to go to orientation, I just never knew when he came back, was it going to be a yay or nay?
Mm.
So you were in orientation, but there was a chance at the end that they could either say yes or no.
All right.
Yeah.
Because as a company, y'all, you kind of have to determine, is You know, and I'm not in HR, y'all, so forgive me because I don't know how all this stuff works. But in my own mind, I'm thinking to myself, I have to judge if I hire this person, is it going to be more of a help than a disservice, you know,
Right.
burden to the company. So, and I hey, listen, I can understand that.
No, it is understandable.
It's understandable.
Yeah.
So,
So we wanted to do our part and let them know ahead of time everything that we couldn't do, just so they knew whether they wanted to even take the chance on us, you know.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the lady JR, she invited me and Nate into her office, and we sat there, and she gave me a welcome packet, and she was like, "We still want to hire you."
Yeah, and
So-
and if I'm not mistaken, I think she had that list right on her table. And she said she looked at it and she said that she felt like even though we had this long list, that they could accommodate us.
Yeah.
And I could honestly say we've been here for a couple of years now, and
We're going on 5 years, y'all.
and she said they're going to accommodate us, and they really have, because there have been a couple of times where we did have loads that we couldn't pull, and we just let them know, and they find that they're very, very accommodating. And it's, you know, it's been pretty, you know, awesome how they just been able to just work us in like that. And it just makes me think about teaching when PJ says that, you know, God can move on like your employer's heart to hire you, you know. And I feel like we were able to really see that. Yeah.
And
because the list was long that we gave, and we're trying to be as honest as possible.
And like Nate said, y'all, we had many occasions where we had loads come our direction that we couldn't haul. And, you know, it, depending on who you are, it could be a trigger. You know, it's like, oh, let's see what they're going to say.
No, even now, even when we turn down a load now, I am triggered because of our experience. But every single time, they're like, okay.
Yeah.
You know, they just give us something else. And
they've actually apologized to us on several occasions, like, oh, you know, sorry, Mitchell, you know, we didn't see that note on your truck, because a lot of times they can read, okay, this particular driver, he either has to be on home time or vacation here, or he can't pull this particular thing, or he's not on this particular account. So for our truck, you know, it's known that, like, hey, we can't pull certain set loads. And so whenever we get a load come through, and sometimes that could be because, like, for example, maybe if our asset manager is out for the day and somebody's subbing in for him, he may not know. So he may send us something, and then when we tell him, like, hey, we can't pull this, it's like, oh, you know, we apologize, Mitchell, you know, we didn't see that note on your truck, but we'll go ahead and take this off for you and we'll give you something else. So it's been a really good experience here.
Yeah.
Really good experience, and I've enjoyed it. And going on 5 years. But
yeah.
And so that, y'all, is the bulk of it. I do have questions that I want to get into that I think are really important, because I think it's going to kind of pick me and Nate's brain a little bit. We may respond a little bit differently. Anything else that you wanted to touch on? Sometimes I forget.
I would say even here, our faith has been tested. It's been a little bit of a different experience because they've been so accommodating, but with this company, we have different divisions, and when we got hired on, we were on one division. You know, sometimes you just want to test things out and just kind of float around and just see. So we went to another division, and even that same thing, everything looked like it was going to be good, and we loved it. We loved the division that we were on, and we were like, okay, we're good. And we remember telling them, like, asking all these questions and just trying to see, like, would this not line up with our faith before we accepted the position. Everything seemed fine, you know. So we were like, okay, let's go ahead and try it and see. And we were on that division for, I want to say, a year and a half. And a year and a half later, he had a trailer that had stuff on it that we couldn't haul.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, like.
Yo, I'm gonna be very honest with you guys. I got comfortable again. Right,
because with that, there's no way we're gonna haul something that is against our faith, because we literally had asked all these questions because of our experience. You know,
so I knew it was a test, y'all. I knew it was. Yeah, I knew it was. And the thing about it is that me and Nate really enjoyed that.
We did.
That contract or division that we had. And it was working so well for us. We had everything just, you know how sometimes, y'all, when you get into a rhythm of something, you have your routine and you have your way of doing everything is working smoothly. You finally got to a place in life where it's like, okay, this is what works for us.
Right.
And I got comfortable again.
Yeah. And the first time it happened, we were like, okay, this is strange. It happened again a second time where we had something on our trailer, and we're like, oh, this is against our faith. And then I think it was a third time, and that's when we ended up talking to the manager of that division, and we were like letting her know, like, well, this stuff is against our faith, and we asked, can they accommodate? And it was gonna seem like too much of a inconvenience, but the beautiful thing about this company is that there's so many different divisions we were able just to move over. So compared to the first company where we just got fired,
right?
So even here, we definitely have had times where we thought we were in the clear, and we were for a good bit, and then with trucking, it's just very unexpected.
Yeah,
I'll say
unexpected.
that. So, but yeah, that's what I'll say.
It's been an interesting ride. I'll say you that. So 7 questions here, and I'll let you start it out. So the first question is, and y'all remember, we would love to hear your testimony about how your faith was tested. And it doesn't have to be job related. I mean, it could be anything, but if you are able to apply some of these questions,
if you're
we would love to
comfortable,
hear.
if you're not, it's
if you're
okay.
comfortable, it's no pressure.
Yeah.
But if you are comfortable, we would love to hear about it. But the first question is, did you ever think that our faith will be tested so soon and so early on in our faith? Why or why not?
I'm not too sure. It's hard to. I do know that our pastor does an amazing job at letting us know, what's up ahead. I would say for me, I think I was just more shocked because in the three and a half years that we were there was never any sign to see that we would ever have to haul something that we would have to refuse because of our faith. So yeah, I don't think it's so much of the fact that I think it was going to be tested so soon. I just didn't think it was going to be at the job that we were at. Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's hard to say, y'all. For me personally, it's hard to say because I know, our pastor often talks about how his faith was tested as a child, as an early teen and stuff like that. So I realized that you really can't put an age on a trial, right? Or a test. So, but one thing that I did get from this is that, kind of like I said earlier in the video, when your faith is tested, it may be at a time when you least expect it.
Right.
It could just be one day out of the blue, the most inconvenient time, the most inconvenient day. Things in your life may or may not be going how you want them to go, and just like that, it could just be tested. And the thing is that for us, we didn't really have a whole lot of time to make a decision, and so it's a lot of pressure in such a short period of time. But for me, I would say it's kind of hard for me to tell. Like I said, we hear pastors experience a lot, and you could hear about people that have been in the faith for a really long time, and then they experience something huge in their life. So it's hard to say.
And for us, 3 years, it's a good bit of time, but we're still babes.
We're still babies, still new to the faith in many ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, y'all, question number 2. So, how did our faith being tested affect you mentally, emotionally, physically? And what are some of the after effects that you still carry with you?
I would say the initial, I was shocked at first. And then I would say, like I said, after that, I feel like me and you were pretty chill, pretty peaceful. I would definitely say the orientation process, you coming back to the hotel every day, constantly saying, they're I don't know, That part was a little bit nerve-wracking, but I would say for the most part, I feel like we were pretty peaceful. How it has affected me after, I do feel like there's side effects of it. With this company, I've learned not to get too comfortable. Even though there is nothing against this company at all. It's really a really good company. It's not because they have done anything, but it's just that first experience. And obviously with more teaching, we've been in holiness now for almost 8 years. I just know not to get too comfortable, so there's definitely side effects where like he said, if we ever do get something that we have to reject, I am a little bit nervous. I hope that they don't change their mind and just want to fire us or something. I don't even get too comfortable in the truck. I still have stuff in bags because when that first experience happened, we were in the truck and we got comfortable in it. So, you have stuff in closets and drawers, and we got fired. We had to go to a store and just get all these bags to load our stuff up and put it in the U-Haul versus now have everything in bags, you know. And I tell them all the time, that way if we ever have to leave, you know, we're already set up. So, and it may not go down like that, but it's just, that's just a side effect of things like that.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, yeah, I would say little things like that. Sometimes I do wonder, but yeah, it did affect me a little bit, a little aftermath. Yeah.
I would say for me, y'all, I agree with Nay. You know, it has caused us to live in such a way to where if we ever had to go through this again, it's simple as grab and go.
Yeah.
So even though this is right now and this season of life is our living quarters per se, but it's still, we don't make it home, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because of that experience. So it's hard to get comfortable anywhere. And I guess another perspective that I give to, I'm pretty much saying the same thing Nay's saying, but I like to use the phrase, you know, letting your guard down.
Yeah.
I know better now, you know, not to let my guard down. So I think what it does is it trains you to just kind of be ready at all times, you know. And that's something that we had to do in the military. And I don't want to go too far on a sidebar, but I remember in the military, one of the things that they constantly harp on is, you know, you just always have to be ready, you know, at any given time. Hey, if it's in the middle of the night, something goes down, you have to be ready to go. But you know, getting out of the military, you become slack, you know what I mean? You get comfortable and but yeah, I have to go back to that, man. I have to go back to that military style mentality that I always have to be ready at any given time to do what I need to do spiritually, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's definitely something that it has got me mentally. I was in my head a lot, you know, what am I gonna do? It's not fun when you're in the middle of something and you feel a lot of pressure and you don't really know what's going on. You don't know what to do, because as a husband, you do have to have some answers, right? So it's like when you are in a position where it's like, man, I really don't even know. And a lot of times as a man, if I could, y'all, back your brother up, as a man, you always want to have the right answer for something. You never want to be in a position where it's like, I really don't know, especially if someone's depending on you, someone's counting on you. You never want to be in that position. So it's not fun. I'll say that. I would say emotionally, you know, like I said, I cried. Affected me emotionally. But I got over it pretty quick though. I mean, I would say shortly after that, like we explained to you guys, we definitely felt peace with the decision. And I would say the after effect, I agree. I would say just go back to just not letting your guard down and just always being ready at any given moment. If your faith gets tested and you have to stand up and do the right thing, you have to be ready, because I'm telling you guys from experience, it'll come at a time when you least expect it.
Yeah, we weren't expecting it at all.
So the number 3 question is, how did you feel and what went through your mind when you experienced God's faithfulness by answering our prayer and blessing us with a job that was much better than the previous one that we had in many ways?
It was amazing. Because like I said, it happened. He applied for the job, and like it was like we were on our way to Philly. And it just, how everything lined up is like we were on our way to Philly. He gets the call about the potential job offer. The company terminal is in Pennsylvania. We were already on our way to Pennsylvania. It's about 2.5 hours from Philly. Yeah, it's just the way it lined up was just amazing. And by God's permission, it ended up it's something, because it's like we got fired from one job for what we feel like is standing up for what was right, and God blessed us with a job that has been better, you know, in so many different ways. It was definitely been better. So, and it was just seeing teaching come to life in our life, because we've been taught this, you know, we were so many times, and just to see it happen in our life was pretty amazing.
Yeah, I think something.
And just
else,
what happens when you stay in your ground, because like Mitchell was saying, they offered, so they tried to accommodate us in so many ways, but the way that we were asking, which is we can't pull it. And you know, it could be very easy, especially when you're faced with losing your job, to say, okay, well, I'll do this, you know, but we stood our ground and we're like, no, we can't, you know. And it's amazing just to see what happens in a scary moment like that, where you have to stand your ground and potentially lose something, how God could give you just so much more, you know.
Oh yeah.
So
Something that I learned, this is a learning experience for me, you know, responding to the question, you know, how did I feel and what went through my mind to experience God's faithfulness? It definitely caused my trust for God to grow, y'all.
yeah.
It's one thing to say I trust God. There's a popular song out, you know, I trust in God, and so it's nice, it's beautiful to be able to sing that, but to be able to experience it, y'all, to be able to trust God and to feel that trust for God grow, you're like, wow, you know, God really saw us through.
Yeah.
And it just, I think what it did at the same time, so this is the flip side to it. It's like we never allow ourselves to get too comfortable at any job for any reason, but at the same time we always have comfort,
right?
Because we already know that even though we may not see what's ahead, we don't know what's going to happen, we do know God got us,
right?
You know, and that's been a huge blessing. It has caused my trust for God to grow, and to experience it. It's like, wow, you know, you hear about people's testimonies and how God was faithful to them, but when you get a chance to experience it for yourself, you already have that teaching, but I think what it does is it takes it to a new level,
right?
When you get to experience it. Yeah. So question number 4, is losing your job by standing for the faith as easy as it looks, or was there difficulty to it?
I can't speak for everybody, but I can't, because it's everybody's situation is different. You know, if I think about it, everybody is going to have to answer that for themselves, because it all depends on, there's so many factors that can make it easier or not, you know, like the type of responsibilities you have, how many people you're responsible for, whether you have kids, whether you're married, if you have a lot of money saved. Like, there's things like that that can make it like really, really stressful. And then maybe for somebody else it's still hard, but maybe not, you know, as stressful. Like I said, the initial I was shocked. You know, I'm not gonna say it was easy, you know, but I'll say this: standing up for God feels better, you know, and just seeing how God could bless you for doing that, to me, is way better than the initial, okay, you're fired, you know. Yeah, if that
agree.
makes sense.
And I'll say that I'm not gonna say it was easy, and I'm not gonna say it was super, super difficult. I think really more unexpected than anything else.
Yeah,
and I
it was
think
definitely
that
unexpected.
I would say what's hard is making a very life-changing decision under pressure in a very short period of time.
Yeah, I would say
that's what's difficult.
That was the difficult part, because like I said, we did try to get in contact with the church, but the time crunch, like we had to give an answer, and we could not wait for a response. Like we couldn't. So what we had to lean on, honestly, was teaching. We had to lean on the 3 years that we had already been a part of the church, and just all the messages that we had binge watched, right? We had to rely on that, because it was crunch time. You know, and the amazing thing is that I remember it still to this, well, we haven't done it in a little bit, but even years later, we'll listen to a message and PJ will say something, and we're like, we know we made the right decision. And we did that for a while, you know, because sometimes he'll say something, and even though we didn't get that phone call that we needed that particular day, just something in a message would be like, we made the right decision. You know, we're so glad
it's
that
like confirmation.
We're so glad that we just chose to walk away.
And I would say another thing, y'all, that I think could make it difficult for someone, it really depends on how much you love that thing too. If you really love that career, if you know, got to a place where it's like, man, you felt really comfortable, you know, you were doing really awesome things and everything was going so smoothly, and you really, really, truly love, because I don't know a whole lot of people that really love what they do for a living, but I can only imagine how hard it is when you're a person that really does love what you do, and you figure out you gotta let it go.
And we didn't not enjoy it, like I said. I mean, we were working, but at the same time we were traveling so much for church, so we did love it. you know. So just to have that all pulled underneath us like that was definitely unexpected. So yeah, but I would definitely say relying on teaching, like, wow, it's just so important, because sometimes you may not get a phone call and it's like you have to rely on what you're taught and go into that bag of all those messages and make a decision.
Yeah, it's true. Oh yeah.
So
yeah. So question number 5. So me and Nay have actually had many conversations, y'all, about starting our own business and working for ourselves. How much does our faith being tested and the experience that we have a part to play in it?
I would say a little bit, because obviously as a business owner, especially, you know, with sticking with trucking, we could choose our loads. So we could see ahead of time what we can and can't pull and stuff like that. So I would definitely say it helps. You know, I could turn down a load for us and not have to worry about somebody saying, hey, you have to pull it or you gotta go. You know, so things like that is definitely helpful.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I would say initially, y'all, it didn't start out that way. I think we just thought about doing it because it's something we really wanted to do. And but I would say the longer we're in the faith and the longer we kind of experience life as a whole, I think it definitely does have a part to play now, though.
Yeah.
Because like Nate was saying, it's that freedom that you have to kind of work for yourself, and you're in control, right? You're in control of your environment, what you will and will not do, and you don't really have someone, you know, to answer to in terms of, well, hey, we need you to do this, or why aren't you doing this? So it helps out a lot. Really.
Yeah, and I think another thing too is that a lot of employers just don't understand. You know, and I can't blame them.
You can't blame them.
I really can't, because there's a lot of things that we didn't know until we came into holiness that it took teaching for us to, you know, understand. So when you tell them certain things, you're like, hey, I can't pull this is against my faith. They're like, what? Like, this doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And I can't blame them. Like, it's just, it sounds foreign to them. You know, like, people are used to the, you know, like, I know there's a lot of trucking companies that they have people that can't haul alcohol, and they're probably used to that. But for us, it's way more than that, you know? So when you kind of throw at them some of the things that are not as common, but that we get taught, they just don't understand it.
Yeah.
You know, so, yeah.
And I think at that point, you just have to have some grace, y'all, and just be like...
no, of course, I get it. They don't get it.
Never go back and forth with them. Just say, okay, you know, I understand, you know, and so on and so forth. And you just got to do what you got to do, y'all.
Yeah.
Because some, you know, that's one of the things, because even me, when we lost our job before coming here, I tried to get the person on the phone to see what I was talking about,
and they didn't get it.
I couldn't. And again, y'all, we were still new in the faith for the most part, and so I didn't realize at that time that trying to explain something spiritual to somebody that doesn't really understand is not going to work. Not for me, it didn't. You know, so you just have to trust God in those moments, and really just do what you know is right, and God will work it out.
Yeah.
He will. Matter of fact, there was a brother that we spoke to when this whole thing went down, and he told me over the phone, he said, hey man, he said, if you stand for God, God's gonna fight for you. And to see it, man, it's so special. And I think something else that'll let me know too is that, you know, something that we were taught from the pulpit that our pastor has taught us many times is that if God opens the door for you, y'all, nobody can close it.
That's so true.
And that's a very important lesson that I've learned through this whole process. Because even when when she called me and they into her office, and, you know, we sat there and she gave us the welcome packet, she said, you know, we see the list, but we still want to hire you.
Yeah.
Y'all, I can't even tell you how much joy I felt in that moment. It was so special to me to see God's faithfulness. Truly, it was a blessing.
Yeah, because I would definitely say from the recruiter, him telling you, like, I don't know, it just doesn't look good that you refuse the load, and then the guy in orientation telling you, like, you have a really long list. You know, like, you sure you don't want to look for something else? So it's like all these things that point to maybe it's not going to happen, and then just for her at the end just to say welcome, you know. We still want to hire you guys. So
that was a huge blessing. Blessing. So The sixth question that we have is, has this experience made us want to own a home or at least have an apartment to go to just in case?
No, actually, when the whole thing happened, I mean, we came out here for a reason. We were local for all of our marriage. We've been married for a really long time, so. And we were living a life from the time that he was in the military to getting out of the military, being in trucking, just passing each other by. He had his job, I had my job. And I would say for the first 10 years of our marriage, it was just him being gone a lot in the military, and then him getting out the military, getting into trucking, and just with us having our different schedules, we were just always passing each other by. So it was like about 8 years ago that we decided to come on the road, just so we didn't have to keep living that life, you know. So when that whole thing happened with us getting fired, even though we didn't have a particular like a stick and mortar to go to, I don't think there was anything that came to my mind like, okay, maybe we should just settle down again, and just in case we get fired from another job, because the same thing could happen when you're local too. You know. And even now, no, I love being out here. He knows this.
It's very freeing, y'all.
I love freeing. It. I love the mobile type of way to live. I love just traveling for church, going to different temples, going to different meetings and stuff like that. So there's just different things that I just love about being out here that it hasn't caused me to necessarily want to do that yet. So I'm enjoying it right now. Yeah.
I would say, I'm not gonna lie, y'all, it may have came to my mind at some point or another, but this life is very freeing. You know, it's just one of those type of lifestyles that, you know, you don't necessarily have to be tied down to anything specifically when it comes to a house or apartment. And I definitely feel really confident, y'all. I'm not saying I feel comfortable, I feel confident. I feel confident that, you know, God forbid something like this ever happens again, that we're gonna be okay. We'll be all right. I don't necessarily feel like we have to have a house or apartment as a backup plan just in case. I will say this, y'all, I feel like I would feel much worse if we did have a house or an apartment.
And the same thing
happened, because at that point you really have a lot on your plate.
If a person doesn't have their finances all in order, because you got to pay your rent, you got to pay your mortgage, or your car, or just whatever you have. So whether you're in our situation, we're on the road, or you're local, that fear is still real. Like, what am I gonna do? You know. So
it's definitely one of them things that I would encourage anybody, especially from a job perspective, because I will say this: I believe it's not a matter of if, but when. When your faith is tested on the job, I'll say when.
And you know what this taught me is that you could feel like your job is a job where it will never happen, but that's not necessarily true. You know,
because we found that out multiple times. So
it could be the job you least expect that seems like everything is gonna, going well, and that's the job where And
I would say Nate touched on something really important, y'all. Having your finances in order and living within your means. You know, if you could live within your means, it makes situations like this much easier to bear. You know, I'm not gonna say it's totally easy 100%, but it definitely makes it easier to bear.
For sure.
I see that.
Yeah.
So y'all, we got one more question. So the last question we have here is, so now that we have a little bit, I'm saying a little bit, now that we have a little bit of experience with God in this particular area of life, what advice can you give someone who is currently going through this or may potentially go through this in the future?
Stand for what's right. You know, it's worth it. It's scary. You know, it's definitely scary. So I'm not going to make it seem like it wasn't. But it feels so much better. Like I said, there's so many times we listen back to messages, or sometimes we talk about the situation, and we're just so happy we did the right thing, what we felt like was right. And I would much rather that than have pulled the load just to keep the job and just have that guilt and that regret, you know. So I would just say stand for what's right, trust God, you know.
I agree, y'all. I would
Lead to
say,
teaching. Lead to teaching for sure, because that definitely helped so much, just leading to all the messages
yeah,
that were taught. So helpful.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I agree with that, y'all. I'll say definitely rely on teaching, because sometimes, I mean, if you think about it this way, it's like you could be, living daily life, and teaching may just come to your mind. You know, you could be anywhere. You could be food shopping. You could be at the bank. You'd be having a conversation with somebody outside, and in the midst of all these things, teaching will come to your mind and be like, oh yeah, I remember we were taught that.
Something that PJ says a lot. He said a lot of our answers come from the pulpit. So even though we were making our phone calls when that situation happened and we needed answers, just listening to teaching, a lot of our answers came right from the pulpit. It's just sometimes when you're in pressure, you're not really thinking about it in the moment, but if you just take time just to think about teaching, a lot of times what you need is right there. Even if you can't get in contact with somebody. So
yeah,
teaching helps so much, and even now it does. So yeah.
So my little piece of advice, y'all, is like Nate said, stand for what's right, even if it doesn't feel good, because it may not always feel good in the moment, but stand for what's right, and watch God move in your life, and it's one of those things that it may not necessarily happen exactly at that time that you feel it should happen, but if you just have patience, and you'll see it come to pass, and it's a very beautiful thing. And one thing that I do want to leave off by saying is, God is who He says He is. And He's a God truly of His word, and He will not fail you. And it's beautiful to experience that.
And when I think about the song, and I'm sorry, I'm not trying to talk too much about our music, but I think about Sing Through My Struggles. When I think about that song, I think about what we went through. Because, why should I worry? Why should I fear? I have a God that's in control. When I think about what He's done in my life, it's a reminder it's going to be all right. So when I think about when I wrote that, we literally have experienced that to where now, like I said, we've been in situations with this company, and Mitchell will come and say, hey, we have something on our trailer. We can't haul it. I'm like, okay. And he'll tell you every time he'll come back, at the time when it would happen, I was so relaxed. I'm like, okay, what do we got to do? I'm just, because.
Just that quick, yeah.
Yeah, it's just that quick. Because there's just such a satisfaction just knowing that, okay, I'm standing up for God, I'm doing what's right, and we see what He did for us before. So it just, for me personally, just motivates me just to want to keep doing it, Yeah.
And one thing I'll say too, God, there's a lot coming to my mind, y'all, so forgive me. Another thing I want to add to this too is that something our pastor has often taught us is that if you lose your job standing for the faith, God can bless you with a better one.
Oh yeah.
And it's true, y'all.
Yes.
Because this job truly is better than the last one that we had. And when I tell you, in many ways, in many ways.
Ways that we would have never even thought. So any type of uncomfortableness I have is not because of the company. It's just because of the last experience. Kind of like just the trickling effect of it. But it's been so much better. So.
And that's another thing I want to add too, is that it's nice, y'all, to be at this job and be able to make music, And so even now when I think about it, just sitting in the driver's seat, take the guitar and just play and just sing to God's glory, just sing to Him, sing about Him, sing for Him, play for Him. It's a blessing because it's like, man, I'm able to praise God on the other side. You know what I mean? I can be here in the blessing and just praise God and just thank Him, and He's so worthy and deserving of it, So I'm glad, y'all, that even
we've still been able to travel for church, sometimes even more so than the first time. So it's just, there's definitely have been an increase, so. And hopefully this is encouraging to anybody.
I hope so, y'all. I think to have this talk back, it's encouraging to me still. To have it back, because it's like in many ways we get to relive that moment all over again.
There was a season where we would talk about it quite a bit, just reflecting back on it, and from time to time we still do. So it's always nice to go back and reflect on that, just what happened, what God did in our life, and it's not something I ever want to forget. Yo,
I have one last thing I want to say, and I promise I'm gonna close after this. So back to the question that I had asked, has this, as far as starting our own business, And it's something that me and Nate have been wanting to do for a while. But I've always, and I have spoke to Nate about this recently. For me, there's always been a fear there, you know, and the fear is, if I could be completely transparent, is it gonna work? You know, are we gonna make it? You know, or are we gonna fail? You know, what if things don't work out? And I've had that anxiety, you know, that fear, and I think it keeps me from, you know, well, I'm not gonna say now, but it has kept me from really just trying to pursue it as hard. And I actually heard something that Pastor said, and I heard another minister actually from the Virginia area, and both Pastor and him said the same exact thing. And
It was on
very,
the same week, right? Probably the same.
it may have
Yeah.
been. And one of the things that our pastor was saying is that to the brothers and sisters, don't be afraid to start your business. Don't be afraid at all whatsoever. But obviously with that, make sure we put God first at all times. And so this way God can bless whatever we decide to do.
Right.
And the same thing with the other minister, expressed the same thing. Do not be afraid to start your business. So when I heard that twice, y'all, and with what I was feeling at that time, to me, even that to me from the pulpit, it was confirmation that I needed. We're gonna be all right.
Yeah.
When we start our business, I believe God's gonna be with us, y'all. I know it for a fact. And I'm excited and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
But like anything else, y'all, we just take our time and we're patient, not rushing anything, because we want to make sure everything is done right. And that's key. That's key.
Yeah.
Is patience, and definitely seeking God in the process. Yeah.
Yeah.
Y'all, we hope this was really encouraging to you. It was encouraging me to have this conversation.
Yeah.
You know, I really love this. This was cool.
Yeah.
We would love to hear from you guys.
Yeah.
Put it down in the comments. But y'all, we'll see you.
Bye.